何
Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon with Ditto and me. So today, as scheduled, I'm delivering the underused tier video promised last week. So this is gonna be a long one, so sit tight, just because there are a lot of powerful legendaries, and the power creep really hit the tier hard. To be honest with you guys, I went on a huge losing streak at the beginning of the tier, so yeah, even I got some serious losses there. And I think I'm only in like 1,200, which means I'm still in low ladder, actually. So, sit tight and enjoy the flounderfest of this tier. To start off this meta-analysis video, let's start off with a bang. We have the monster that is Victini in UU. First of all, with V-Create, it can sweep hard, especially under Sun, and with V-Create, which is 100% accurate due to Victory Star. Secondly, it's incredibly versatile. Be it band, scarf, or even boots, it will sweep nonetheless depending on what teammates you have. 3. Even the Tapus are running around. Its speed outpaces Lele's by default, and it wrecks Tapu Bulu effortlessly. Even worse, under Sun, it can Oko stack Attacka, let alone Galarian Moltres. The only saving grace that is V-Create is a one-shot move. If it hits, it has to switch the next turn if the battle's far from over. If you can even run Searing Shot, that's known as Free Burns, the sequel, and make a Steel type's worst nightmare. Anyways, running V-Create, Zen Headbutt, U-Turn, and Bolt Strike is a pretty standard set. Enjoy as everything melts before your eyes. In honesty though, Victini gets checked by Hippowdon and even defensive Slowking hard, and Rocks can absolutely cut its longevity in half. So maybe Victini isn't that bad, but I'm still molding when I get swept by one, for sure. Next is another absurdly powerful Scarfer, which is none other than Hydreigon. Hydreigon, despite the Tapus dropping to UU, still thrives as quite the meta pick, not seeming to drop in popularity a lot. The most common set as of now is Choice Scarf, which contains Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Stabs, Fire Blast, and U-Turn, or Flash Cannon, you know. Life Orb is there, but it's way riskier, and you know, Scarf Tapus on UU are again the meta. I'd honestly recommend using the former, because in this tier, strangely enough, it's been speed-centered. It can have Flash Cannon to counter some fairies, as mentioned above, but in truth, it's quite rare to Hydreigon to run that. However, there's one rare Spice pick that can actually work, Specs Hydreigon. So I'll handle that to my friend Ethanol, who explain this Spice pick later on, and I'll let him do the voiceover, so we'll wait until then. Moving in, on the Queen of Stall in UU, which is none other than Chansey, a Pokemon who's once held its own in OU, and quite well to be frank, dropping to UU? What is the sorcery, you ask? Well, as said in the OU meta-analysis, knockoff has become way more common, especially because of Crawdon, obviously. Chansey has a higher chance of losing Eviolite now in OU, so yeah, it dropped to UU, I guess. Chansey, like Blissey, has excellent health and special defense stats, and combined with the Violite, or Eviolite, I don't know how do you pronounce that, they get bolstered to obscene levels. Plus, it has the ability Natural Cure, which is in short an anti-status move. In short, you're not killing that thing easily. Not even close combat, unboosted, can one-shot the thing. Then we have the absurdly powerful Tapu Lele. Apparently, the OU power creep is too much to it, but not Tapu Koko for some reason, and also Tapu Fini? I don't know, so here it is, where it maintains its role as a fast and furious sweeper. Usually, it uses a Scarf alongside hard-hitting moves like Psyshock or Psychic, Moonblast, maybe Thunderbolt, and Shadow Ball. Psychic Terrain on entry has and will be an excellent ability, as that not only repels all priority moves, for example the dangerous Bullet Punch on Scizor, but also boosts its Psychic type moves. Poison types, beware. Speaking of poison types, we have Nihilego. Despite it seeing more effective use in OU, it can do very well in UU with all the Tapus prancing around. Unfortunately, the biggest flaw is its middling defense and its speed tier, which is just shy of good, which, unless if you don't maximize your speed but not special attack, isn't going to help survive the onslaught of Scarf Tapu Lele. The most common set as of now is Meteor Beam Power Herb. which can actually OHKO Scizor if it doesn't have special defense investment. And strangely enough, it can act as a semi-wall to eat up strong special attacks like Specs, Dragapult, Draco Meteor, and OU, which does just about half health. Yikes. Seriously though, it's much better to use Choice Scarf. Let's speak of another poison type. Firstly, Amoonguss. That pun aside. Yeah, Among Us, get it? This mon actually holds itself quite well. With one of the most specially defensive setups in the entire game, and sleep support that's 100% accurate, Amoonguss can often soften up easier targets, letting stronger Pokemon into sweep once the opponent's cornered with either Toxic, Poison, or Sleep, with Toxic Spikes and Spore. Unfortunately, it's yet again massacred by 1 Victini and 2 Tapu Lele. I'd recommend Spore, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb or Clear Smog, and lastly Toxic Spikes. Synthesis isn't really that necessary, but run it if its clear Amoonguss isn't living a sufficient amount of hits, which it shouldn't actually, so that's why Synthesis is actually commonly run. To be frank, Incineroar is weird in this tier. Obviously it has its pivoting shenanigans with Parting Shot and U-Turn. With the ability to Intimidate, it can be very valuable support. It usually carries Boots, as it's always pivoting out, and Stealth Rocks is always the most common move on a single team, and with the support moves Knockoff and Will-O-Wisp, it can easily disable opponents' special and physical attackers alike. Incineroar is a valuable pivot, but watch out for Hatterene, as its Magic Bounce actually bounces the Parting Shot back to Incineroar and switches out itself to let in a powerful bulky Pokemon like Volcanion in to destroy it. Aside from Chansey, there's another giant stalwart in UU, which is Celesteela. Celesteela obviously is very bulky, with base 103 defense and base 101 special defense, but it also has a very annoying move pool. With the moves Protect, Leech Seed, Flamethrower, and Heavy Slam, it can drain the opponents of their HP, while, the opponents will just watch as their HP get drained away by this monster, and it getting Beast Boost defense or Special Defense Boost, which is terrifying to see. And with the support moves Flamethrower and Heavy Slime, we can get off reliable damage. Now, let's start on the wall breakers. First of all, Zeraora. Zeraora has a fantastic ability in Volt Absorb, leaving Leftovers Recovery a bit of an escape plan if it really can't get enough of guzzling those electric moves. I personally recommend the classic set of Plasma Fist, Close Combat, Play Rough, and Knockoff, a Volt Switch if you're feeling particularly trigger happy. Despite quite a good move pool, it's hindered by its offensive stats, almost good, but sadly one step short of it. And unfortunately, it can't come close to making a Volcanion fear for its life. Even with Plasma Fist, it's still very good, and likely one of the must-haves on your team. After Zeraora comes another powerful hitter, Bisharp. It was OU and Gen A before the power creep kicked in, and it stayed there for very long, but for good reason, Defiant and Sucker Punch. Sure, it wasn't UU last generation, but primarily because of Z-moves and Tapus. Now, with all the power creep except them, priority can be a lifesaver, and what a lifesaver Bisharp can be. Do not defog on this thing, because I guarantee you it'll cost a game or two, especially in UU. It's also one of the best soft counters to Victini, which is incredibly useful. Here's my friend's personal favorite, Crawdaunt. It was originally a bandless Pokemon, but now that it's in UU, the power has been unleashed. It will literally sweep with either Band or Scarf, and both can surprise equally hard. The former being able to give Crawdaunt just enough for a boost to OHKO or bulky Hatterene, and the latter surprising things like Latias and Tentacruel, sometimes even getting the jump on Nihilego of all things. I'll recommend running Crab Hammer, Knockoff, Close Comeback, or Rock Slide or Aqua Jet. Crawdaunt can almost do it all, if it's not for its frailty and speed tier. However, it can actually shine in the Trick Room. Another absurdly powerful Pokemon that has dropped to UU is Volcarona. Honestly, why is the thing in UU? With Quiver Dance, Psychic, or Bug Buzz, Giga Drain, and Fury Dance, as known as Free Special Attack, it can easily reverse sweep. I've seen that way too many times, although fire types, and maybe sometimes for non-Giga Drain variants, water types are hard counters though. So yeah, Volcarona users, you gotta watch out. And also Victini's can OHKO, so yeah, you gotta watch out there. Another insanely powerful wall breaker is Special Specs Aegislash. You might ask, why special? It is because the meta has shifted so much to counter physical attackers just because of the abundance of it. You can name it all: Zero Aura, Bisharp, and all those super powerful physical attackers. Plus, the king of the tier, Victini, is one of the most powerful physical attackers ever. So, having Aegislash as a special attacker can really help handle those physical walls to soften up the opponent's team, therefore making their team a Victini sweep. The set is Flash Cannon, Close Combat, Shadow Ball, and Shadow Sneak. I know this might sound like a mixed set, but Shadow Ball and Flash Cannon are undoubtedly its two primary attacks. Close Combat and Shadow Sneak is only for hitting priority, and Close Combat is obviously for hitting Chansey. Moving on to Spice Picks. So, the team on the screen there is the team that I use for UU. And to be honest, I've constructed it over the concept of anti-meta. First of all, the first Pokemon is Umbreon, and you will not expect how good this thing is. Umbreon is a very bulky Pokemon with a decent HP stat and insane defenses. So, I invest in a physically bulky set to handle those physical attackers, and using their attack against them with the move Foul Play. And with the move's Wish, it can offer decent recovery support, and Toxic and Moonlight just for general stall. And with the ability Synchronize, it can even punish opposing stall Pokemon and turning their own status against them. Talk about hoisted by one's petard. Next is another absurdly powerful stall breaker, Terrakion, this time with Choice Scarf. Why Choice Scarf, you might ask? It outspeeds every single Scarfer in the tier. Except for Zero Aura, but you won't use Scarf on the thing. So with Earthquake, Close Combat, Stone Edge, and Iron Head, it's a very strong revenge killer that can get the jump on many strong Pokemon, because not many people really expect to see Terrakion in the tier. So it can dish out some absurdly powerful damage, and also a very good check to boosted Volcarona at +1, if Stone Edge doesn't miss, that is. Next is Rotom-Mow, which is a very weird choice at first, but it's used to counter the two kings of stall. Not Chansey though. Leaf Storm is obviously for Hippowdon, and Volt Switch for Celesteela. Paired with the Expert Belt, my Leaf Storm can actually one-shot Hippowdon, which is insane. Paired with the Defog and Will-O-Wisp support moves, it can actually be a pretty decent Pokemon. Plus, it can be a Swag Swap or a switch in for potential Plasma Fist or Volt switches from either Zero Aura or Thunderous Therian. Then I'll talk about Savali. Savali, judging by its name, obviously, is the pivot of the team. It also has Defog, offering plenty anti-hazard support, multi-attack just for an attacking move, Parting Shot, which makes it a very, very interesting pivot, and Thunder Wave for support. I run a specially defensive set as Umbreon is invested in physical defense, so I would kind of want a specially defensive Pokemon as well. So Savali can switch into a lot of hits due to its steel typing, and it can easily get them also get those pivots off while the opponent is switching into the counters, just because of the absurd number of resistances the steel type has. It forces the opponent to make a switch, and then at that point, we can just go for Parting Shot and switch into our hard counters and just wham away, which is insanely good. Now, let's hand over the mic to Ethanol, my friend on Discord, yet again, for him to explain his spice picks on the UU meta.
So, after talking about quite the meta-defining Pokemon like Chansey, Victini, Hydreigon, and UU, we now move on to Terrakion, the strongest of the Force of the Justice in my opinion. Terrakion has a stupid monstrous attack stat, which coupled with Ban can two-shot almost everything in a tier, including Hippowdon, and even Celesteela if you're feeling particularly cheeky. Besides that, it also has great chemistry with Choice Scarf, which forces Speedy Boys to set up twice in order to outspeed it, like Volcarona and Salamence. And even then, if it's set up once, you can just bait them into trying to do it through their attacking moves, and just yeet them under the sky with Stone Edge. Besides that, Terrakion, well, I kinda wish it wasn't an RU, because that thing is so strong, it's gonna slay everything there, and I don't talk about UU here. Just think of how much it would do in RU. Speaking of some spice picks for Zero Aura, I've actually discovered one that one highlighter player specifically used, which was substitute Calm Mind, Grassland, and Thunderbolt alongside, well, leftovers. Special Zero Aura is disgusting. I'm not even lying. This thing kills so many stuff, and even with resisted hits, it will shred. Of course, it still gets hard countered by Moltres, but don't forget it still has a sub up, so if that's the case, it's not gonna really live 2 hits in a row, will it? Here's something else I actually really like, which is Specs Hydreigon. This thing, well, using Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, Dracometer, and Flash Cannon, it might seem like a good moveset, but considering it doesn't have any like special attack investment or stuff, like it doesn't have enough, not like it doesn't have any, it just doesn't have enough to one-shot like a lot of things in the tier. That's where Specs comes in. Although it gives it a way more vulnerability to Tapu Lele, if you can check it with other steel types on your team like Stakataka, Scizor, etc., that thing will run rampant, and you will not be able to stop it as it just melts through your team. Salamence is a weird Pokemon in UU, considering that like a few generations ago it was probably in like underused borderline, because of it's quite good, it's good quote unquote okay defensive typing. Well, I mean Dragon is a really vulnerable type, but I digress. It resists a lot of hits with like its typing, as well as just using either a special setup or physical setup. It's really mixed, and I absolutely adore it. Unfortunately, this isn't the same as much as the same as in UU, because Salamence just lost its Mega as always, and considering there's no Dynamax here, Salamence is gonna have a really rough time. But however, I've seen some people use Scarf, and like it hits unexpectedly hard for something that you would normally see with physical investments. It kinda ruins the purpose of Moxie, but like Intimidate works quite well, and you could also, well, do a lot of unique stuff with Dragon Pulse and maybe Earth Power, Flamethrower, etc., yeah. And before I move on, I'm pretty sure I've forgotten about Crocodile. Crocodile is one of the other full horsemen of the apocalypse in UU, because it has knockoff for one, an Earthquake, it has really good ability in Moxie, which is gonna just start yeeting people away one after another when you like just start chaining kills. So I personally just use Scarf like almost everyone else, because it definitely needs the speed, and like considering UU as well sort of delving into a Scarf meta tier, which is kind of not the direction everyone wants, but well, it's happening right now, so I guess just go with the flow. Crocodile will assist you in getting a lot of games. Here's something that we kind of missed out on, the tier changes of OU and UU. So now 2 of the birds, aka Moltres and Articuno Galarian forms, are in UU and are respectively. So I'm gonna cover Moltres here. Moltres here is amazing. It will shred anything with Fire Wrath Hurricane, and the power level will ascend with Berserk and Nasty Plots, which is, well, just makes it shred almost everything in sight. And despite the fact that it gets hard countered in OU, but this is UU we're talking about, Scarflele and Tapu Bulu will not stand a lot of hits from its Fire Wrath and Hurricane respectively. Just be careful of Morpeko, that thing will one-shot Moltres. As Ryan has said, Silvally actually has a lot of forms if you didn't know already. Silvally has like, well, all the types, and it's actually quite unique that we can run either Water or Steel as probably one of the more viable sides of the spectrum. Water and Steel are really good defensive typings, and especially Water, since it gets Thunder Wave, Defile, Recover, and Multi-Attack, although it gets hard counter by Vaporeon or stuff with Water Absorb or Storm Drain, etc. This thing is quite the status spammer, and half of your team will get paralyzed if you don't stop it in time. Silvally Steel is really similar, but Steel lets it counter Fairies, which are currently quite, the meta. Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, etc. It means it still gets hard counter by Bisharp, but come on, Thunder Wave, you got that one. And Sucker Punch will make a rely on Sucker Punch way more often than others, which is, well, obviously really good for your game. I mean, in the Ubers vid, Ryan said that Regigieko was not in Ubers, and it was actually quite bad there, since, you know, Zacian is working in the tier. But in UU, it's a bit of a similar story? Yeah, it's a similar story. Regigieko has, well, an excellent ability in Dragon Small, which powers up his Dragon attacks that it just likes you so much. The big deal is that, well, it's not gonna really hit a lot of things currently, because, you know, Tapus are running everywhere, and so is Bishop and all the running that stuff. However, choice specs for Drago is quite good, aside from the fact that it has to use 2 dragon moves in a single slot, which is absolutely really vulnerable. Besides that, you also don't have recover and stuff, which Drago would really appreciate. However, I've found something like Ancient Power and Fire Fang work quite well, apparently. Drago under Trick Room also hits insanely hard and can probably Oko Glacier with it, if it switches in. So yeah, I suggest using Drago, but like, you could give us feedback since me and Ryan haven't used it quite a lot. Strangely enough, now Hippowdon is in UU. Astonishing, I know, who would see it coming? Well, literally no one saw it coming. Hippowdon was kind of forced up by power creep because, you know, OU is currently a mess with Tapu Fini and other water types just running around the game, thus making Hippowdon have to drop a UU. It's a really good stealth rock setter, which puts on a lot of pressure if you didn't know already, and especially since like you can whirlwind things out and make them take even more residual damage. Earthquake, Slack Off, and Whirlwind, just Whirlwind. Earthquake and Slack Off just make it a nearly impenetrable physical wall. However, I usually see more special defensive Hippowdons running around these days because, you know, Specs Hydreigon and all the Tapus and even Tapu Bulu running about, although Tapu Bulu is more of a physical attacker than anything, but I digress. Also, Celesteela, it's a pretty good check to Celesteela as it can whirlwind away all its setups.
Thank you, Ethanol, for your spice picks. So, I thoroughly enjoyed the making of this series as I really got to play different tiers, meet a lot of different people on Showdown, and get to analyze the meta, which is honestly a pretty good experience. I did get hacks sometimes, and I do sometimes hacks people, but yeah, all in all, it's a pretty good experience. So if you want these type of videos more, you can do so by typing in the comments, and maybe I may bring a surprise video next week, or maybe doing the meta-analysis of RU or NU, for example. If you really want this series to continue, please like this video. I don't usually do this, but sure, go ahead, and maybe comment down below which tier I should actually do next. So I hope you all a good day and a good week. See you.